Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, it's time to give you my 5 favorite waiver wire additions for Week 6 of the fantasy football season. The waiver wire was a hot place last week, and several of the pickups ended up being very good for fantasy teams and helped them win some games. Hopefully, this week is the same way. I think there's some decent options out there, and we have more teams on a bye this week, so you're going to need some replacements for some of you fantasy owners. So here are 5 of my favorite pickups for Week 6. My first pickup is Jaylen Tolbert, receiver with the Dallas Cowboys. He's owned on 28.3% of the sites, leagues on our site, I should say. Brandon Cooks is out. This is giving Tolbert more playing time. He took advantage last week. He got the game-winning touchdown. He topped 20 fantasy points, finished with 7 catches for 87 yards and a score. Tolbert has 13 plus fantasy points, 3 or 4 games. I think he could really help fantasy teams going forward in a pass-heavy Cowboys offense that really struggles to run the ball. So I think Tolbert is a great pickup if you're looking for receiver help this week. Also wanted to mention, we are not going to give you players that are owned on more than 50% of leagues on our site. So I wanted to preface that before moving on to more of our players. So a lot of sites you see giving players that you think you should pick up, and they're just not available in a lot of leagues on our site. So I don't quite get that. So we give you players that are owned on less than 50% of leagues on our site. So we'll move to the next player with that said, and that's Daniel Jones, QB with the New York Giants. Kind of surprising for me to say this, but he's been pretty good. He's owned on about 29.2% of leagues on our site. But after that first week 1 where he was terrible, he has 20 plus fantasy points, 3 of his last 4 games, multiple touchdowns, 3 of those games as well. That offense is starting to click a little bit, and Jones looks a lot more poised, making good plays, good decisions, moving the ball with his legs as well. So if you're looking for a streaming quarterback play, I think Jones is actually a legitimate option right now. My next pickup for Week 6 is running back Jaylen Wright of the Miami Dolphins, owned on about 40.5% of leagues on our site. Devin Achane went down with a concussion last week, up in the air for this week right now. Who knows if he'll play? Wright actually looked really good last week, had 13 carries for 86 yards, led the Dolphins in rushing. I think he could be a big part of the offense if Achane has to miss any time because of this concussion. And he won't catch passes, but he's going to pile up the rushing yards in a top Dolphins running scheme, especially with Tua Tagovailoa still out of the lineup. So I think Wright's a good pickup, especially if Achane has to miss the game this week, which seems fairly likely in my opinion. My next pickup for Week 6 is Michael Wilson, receiver with the Arizona Cardinals, owned on about 38.7% of leagues on our site. He has double-digit fantasy points 2 of his last 3 games. He has at least 6 targets, 3 straight games. He's getting a lot more looks in the Cardinals offense. This is a pass-heavy offense that's having a lot of success throwing the ball right now. And Wilson was dropped in a lot of leagues after a slow start to the season, but his value is going up in my opinion. I think he could be heavily involved the rest of the way. My last favorite pickup for this week is Tyron Tracy of the New York Giants. I don't know if Devin Singletary is going to play this week. He missed last week because of that groin injury, but he could be held out again this week with Tracy playing so well. They might want to make sure that Singletary is 100% healthy before he's back on the field. But Tracy looked great in that start last week. 18 carries, 129 rushing yards. I think they're going to take it slow getting Singletary back in the lineup. If he misses any more time, Tracy's almost about a must start, in my opinion, in this offense. He looked really good last week, owned on about 32.7% of leagues on our site. So if you need a running back and Singletary's going to miss again this week, I like Tracy to help you with your fantasy roster for Week 6. All right, those are 5 of my favorite waiver wire pickups for this week. Good luck navigating those waiver wires, and good luck in all your games this week. This has been Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.